Teachings from Kuthumi's Hands, the Unknown Nazarene, Part 1. I want to reveal much that was previously not known or was intentionally hidden about the life of the one who is called Jesus. This is not a work of fiction, and some of the revelatory information comes from that teacher in the spiritual hierarchy for planet Earth who is known as Hilarion. For related teachings by Hilarion, see publications by Marcus Books. Hilarion is a 6th level initiate, and as Lord of the 5th Ray his responsibilities include the overseeing of all scientific and technological developments on the planet, the evolution and advancement of all the healing arts, and the perfecting of the mental side of the triangle of being for humanity. The 5th Ray Brotherhood of Truth are under his direction, and revelatory teachings which are always guided by truth have been given to humankind for centuries by this ascended master. One of Hilarion's lifetimes was as the great apostle, St. Paul, Saul of Tarsus, and he desires to set the record straight, a record that became greatly distorted and confused down through the centuries of darkness and ignorance in Western civilization. Before I begin to elaborate on what various ascended masters have had to say about their beloved brother, Master Jesus, I want to say that, personally speaking, I have a tremendous love for Jesus myself and for his incomparable teachings. It is because of that love and the deep-seated prompting from the depths of me that I want to set the record straight myself with the help of what I've learned from Dwal Kul, Hilarion, and a few others. It's really all about exposing the truth with regards to the single greatest influence in the history of Western civilization, that one who walked the earth as the way shower for the Piscean age, Jehoshua ben Yosef, come to be known as Jesus. Every 2,000 years, in accordance with the law of cycles as applied to planet Earth, there comes forth from the spiritual hierarchy, also called the Great White Brotherhood, an avatar who has come to set the example and be a demonstration of the exemplary life to which all may turn for the next astrological age, which is roughly 2,000 years. That avatar is called the Way Shower, and the most recent one came at the outset of the Piscean age, which is symbolized by the fishes. It is an event of great planning, and many of the initiates and adepts in the hierarchy are participants in that evolutionary thrust of the White Brotherhood. All of these way showers have volunteered to come with the intention of moving humanity up onto the next rung of the ladder of spiritual progress. The name of the lofty one who incarnated as Jesus is, and was, Sananda, who has had many other lifetimes on this planet as have had all of the ascended masters. Jehoshua may have been the greatest of those incarnations, but still only one of the lives of Sananda, and I will reveal more of those later in the piece. According to the rules governing avatars in this particular solar system, they must be born into the world in the usual way, being fully human in their makeup, and this was, indeed, the case for Jesus. This was a concerted effort on the part of the hierarchy, and all those in the immediate circle of Jesus were initiates of one degree or another. His mother, Mary, had been prepared for many lifetimes for the influential and important role that she would play. Joseph, his father, was an embodiment of that ascended master Saint Germain, also referred to as Master Rakochi. The purity of their consciousness and the refined nature of their energy fields were essential in the home environment in which he would be raised. All of the 12 that he later selected and who were called the apostles were initiates, and all of his closest family and inner circle were initiates, including the Mary who was called the Magdalene. Throughout his life, they collectively provided a spiritually charged force field of support and nurturance and focused will for the mission of the Brotherhood, of which he was the focal point. At a certain tender age, he was taken to the Essene Mystery School, where his formal teaching would be supervised by the high-level initiates among the Essene Brotherhood. Nothing would be left to chance in his upbringing, and consequently he was sent to the most spiritually enlightened school in that part of the world. The sect called the Essenes carried the torch of enlightenment for the White Brotherhood, and their mystery school was a school of initiation. Both Mary and Joseph had studied and lived with the Essenes, as had John the Beloved, Kuthumi Incarnation, and John the Baptist and most of Jesus' family. His primary early influence was from the master teachers among the Essenes who knew the purpose for which he had come, and he was properly prepared as a great initiate. I find it somewhat amusing that an 18-year period in the life of the one known as the Son of God throughout all of Christendom is entirely missing from those accounts that are called the Gospels. That's a period of more than half the life of the one who came to save the world, if you believe that he died at the age of 33, which he didn't. That's a long stretch of time, a glaring gap, and I've often wondered why not a word is mentioned of those 18 missing years. Well, those missing years weren't missing to Jehoshua, and the Masters of Wisdom are very clear about what took place during that time prior to the beginning of his ministry. He traveled extensively and studied under the greatest sages then on the earth, mastering all of the teachings they had to impart, and they certainly knew who he was and what he had come to do. His travels through those years took him to the centers of initiation, first in Persia, then on to India and Tibet, to Greece and the island now called Britain, and lastly to Egypt, where he eventually took his final initiation in the Great Pyramid of Giza prior to returning to Galilee. He became a great and accomplished yogi during his training in the East and had all the siddhis, or what was then thought to be supernatural powers of an advanced yogi, which he would use as needed during his ministry. He did teaching as well wherever he found himself during those years. Principally, he was being prepared to be a vehicle for the Christ consciousness when that time had come. This had been extensively planned among the ranks of the hierarchy, and that would be one of the great sacrifices that Jesus would make on behalf of a laggard humanity. I should offer an explanation, because this issue has become totally confused by those who purport to follow the teachings of this beautiful being called Jesus. First of all, there is an office or position in the spiritual hierarchy now called the office of the Christ and also called the world teacher. The one who holds that office and responsibility is the Chohan, or Lord of the second ray of love/wisdom. At the beginning of the Piscean age, when Jesus came amongst us, the world teacher was Maitreya, who is known by the higher-ups as the Master of the Masters, having been the first from the human race to rise up into the ranks of the hierarchy by following the path of initiation. Jesus came in to prepare himself to be the most perfected and loving vehicle possible for the entry of the Maitreya consciousness when the propitious moment had arrived. This is essential to an understanding of Jesus. When he stood before John the Baptist at the River Jordan and that ceremony of baptism was enacted, the consciousness of the Christ, Maitreya, entered and thenceforth totally overshadowed the consciousness of Jehoshua. Thereafter, for the 3 years of the ministry and until the crucifixion, it was the Christ consciousness which was doing the teaching and the healing and performing the so-called miracles. Every aspect of the life of Jesus was overlighted by and managed by the Christ, but it needs to be clarified that they were two separate entities: Jesus, the third level initiate, and Maitreya, the fifth level initiate and ascended master. All of the apostles and the inner circle of friends and followers knew the distinction, knew who was doing the teaching. The terms, Messiah and Christos, refer to the Anointed One. It was only when the teachings and the story of the life of Jesus had spread beyond Judea that the confusion arose about the matter. When the Greek initiates coined the designation, Christos, and applied it to Jesus, they were fully aware of the true relationship between Jesus and the world teacher, Maitreya. They knew that he was being used as a vehicle for Lord Maitreya. Those who sought to form a religion and a religious hierarchy around Jesus subsequently convinced the world that he was the Christ or Christos. This does not diminish the importance of the one that came to be known as Jesus, but rather it elucidates the truth of what took place. Jesus, the Christ, is an inaccuracy that I wanted to clear up. There is an even more esoteric relationship that developed in that union of consciousness that Jesus gave himself over to in that pre-planned act of sacrifice for the benefit of humankind. Jesus can be considered to have been the channel for Maitreya to have given the most appropriate teachings, by word or deed, to the West for the age of Pisces, and those teachings centered on love, unfettered, unconditional love. At a higher level, Maitreya was serving as the vehicle and the channel for what is called the Universal Christ, which is the second aspect or facet of the Triune Godhead for this universe. The second aspect of the Creator, which projects the second ray, is known to the Masters as love/wisdom, and that is the facet of the Godhead which is the manifestation of God's love for all of the beings which have emanated from God. Maitreya brought that universal level of the Christ love energy through his consciousness, and then Jesus stepped it down another level so that it could be brought forth into physicality and better understanding by the simple, uneducated people of that time. Maitreya, through Jesus, anchored the virtue of unconditional love in the collective unconscious of humanity, where it remains for the time of its blossoming, the Aquarian Age. Are you in need of the healing energies of the Ascended Master Kuthumi? Visit KuthumiHands.com,